about 2 years.
Yes.
Did you see the annulment of the June 12 election coming?
In all honesty, all of us that participated in that transition worked our hearts out because we believed that Chief MK Abiola was in a significant sense answer to the problems of poverty, deprivation, and hardship in this country. He was a man that has demonstrated by his own accomplishments, by his intellect, and by his contacts, with the people that he understands. He's in touch. He was in touch with the difficulties, of society. People worked very hard. And we believed, honestly, that Hope 93 was going to usher in a new governance system, in Nigeria. Nobody imagined that behind the scenes, the military were in their own kitchen, cooking something different. We started suspecting that these people are not keeping faith, with Nigerians when they refused to swear in the National Assembly members. They were elected. Remember, Yosha Ayu was made the Senate president. All the senators have been, but they did not allow them to be sworn in. And that is the time when suspicion started coming in. But we thought, given the kind of institutional arrangement which Babangida put in place, the political parties, Center for Democratic Studies, all of these are instrumentalities, that are supposed to drive a smooth political transition. So it was surprising. Even the electoral body with Humphrey Nwosu, who was a very hardworking, and conscientious man at the head of the electoral body, nobody suspected that the Babangida government had a different agenda from what all of us were familiar with.
So the point you are making is that what happened was not coincidental. It was planned.
It was planned. It was planned. The agenda was not open to us. We were not aware. It's just like the onion. You peel one peel, you see another one there. You peel one, you see another one. Nobody suspected.
So IBB had the power of deception.
Absolutely. That is the way it has turned out, to be. He never told us, that an Abacha was in the background, controlling the puppets. We never had that idea. Babangida did what any head of state that wants true democracy to be in place would do. All right? Look at the institution of the police. In every local government in this country, there was a party secretariat for both NRC and SDP.
Built with government money.
Yes. So nobody had the power to control any political party. Nobody was allowed to put political party office in his house. So there was independence.
He even barred politicians of the Second Republic.
Yes, from participating, so that younger people, fresh minds, can come into it. How could you suspect that type of person?
But when he annulled the attempted presidential elections of the NRC and the PDP in 1992, you didn't see the sign? Because at some point, Shehu Yar'Adua was to clinch the presidential ticket of the SDP. Umaru Shinkafi or Adamu Siroma to clinch the NRC ticket. Babangida annulled it. Was that not a sign?
We still took it in good faith. We still believed. I remember very well I was at the Just Convention. The processes by which Abiola became, the candidate. Yar'Adua, I remember the night very well when we met with the Yar'Adua group and when they finally acceded, that Abiola should be given, the ticket. We never thought that the military had anything to do. We just took it as the normal horse trading negotiation that takes place, in any political system. We never, at least very many of us did not see it coming. We did not. And even somebody like the late Yaradua, they also were team players. They participated. Atiku was the point man of the Yaraduas, in that nobody suspected, that was the destination that we were being driven to. Nobody.
You were at the Jos Convention.
I was at the Jos Convention.
You saw the horse trading.
Yes.
Shehu Yaradua was influential.
He was.
Adedibu was part of the Oyo State delegation.
Yes, he led the Oyo State delegation.
What role did he play?
In all honesty and in fairness to Chief Adedibu of blessed memory, he was absolutely committed to the emergence of Chief MK Abiola as the candidate. I remembered that I was one of those people, that were taken to the Yaradua's apartment. He told us, Tabati debe, edobale ni o. In other words, as soon as we get to Yaradua's place, all of us should prostrate. He was that, and you will imagine that when he got there, he was the first person to prostrate, they said, Baba, stand up, Baba, stand up, and what have you. In fairness to him, he did everything that, people may read whatever meanings, that, but he was committed to the Abiola ticket. And he did everything possible to make sure that we got the Yaradua group, to accede to the ticket being given to Chief MK Abiola.
How come he led Oyo State delegation? There was a Kolakbo Ishola.
At that time, you have political structures and you have leadership of the party. There are two different and separate levels of control. Chief Kolakbo Ishola was governor because Chief Adedibu, who is not a member of any ESCO, supported him. If Chief Adedibu did not support him as a party leader, it was unlikely that he was going to get the ticket or become governor. And that leadership role did not disappear by reason of his election as governor. He still continued, to defer to him, to seek his opinion, and it was a significant interface between Oyo State SDP and the national leadership of the SDP at that time. So the structure is a bit different. You have those people that are ESCO members, you have political office, but you also have leadership that was not elected. Chief Adedibu was not an elected, he didn't hold any elective office, either within the party or outside the party, but he was extraordinarily, influential on the political process.
So where were the Lam Additionals, who were also members of the SDP?
Well, as at that time, Chief Lam Additional was not the governor. All right, Chief Kolakbo Ishola was the leader of the state in terms of governance. There was even Chief Lamidi Adeshina did not oppose, the leadership of Chief Adedibu as far as party leadership, was concerned. There was unanimity because of the candidacy of Chief Abiola that all of us were following.
I've always wanted to ask, if Adedibu would lead a delegation at that level, what was it about him and politics that gave him that influence?
Well, let me make this point very clear. Many times we think that it is certificates, formal education alone that is the power of the mind. It is not so. There are people that are gifted, brilliant in their calling. They may not have all the education, in the world, but they are masters of their trade. I'll give you another parallel. The late Alhaji Olona, the business mogul from Isheyin, he does not have any formal education, but anybody that has anything to do with Alhaji Olona will know that is one of the most brilliant business minds that you can, unless you don't have anything to do, with him. Let's not get into the mold of thinking that understanding, intelligence, wisdom ends with people that attended school. I am confident to say that Alhaji Adedibu, on account of long political participation, he's been involved in politics since the First Republic. And he has never done any other thing except get involved in politics. He has enormous amount of experience, and he has native intelligence. And he can address the immediate needs. Hey, some people say, I'm a politics. What else, what politics do I expect Chief Adedibu? You expect him to go and be organizing seminars and workshops? What he can see is the immediate need of those people around him. And he tries as much as possible. It's not just Amala. When anybody, I was not particularly close, to him until I became speaker. That's when I got to know him. But when you have any particular need as an individual or as a community, all right, Chief Adedibu answers to it. And when it is time, for election, people also answer to him. There was an incident that I witnessed when Chief Adedibu was alive. These beggars in Sabo, they occupy a building. Now the building changed hand. So the owner of the building sold the house, and the new owner said he wanted to chase away all these our brethren, from the north. They didn't go to see the governor. Those people, those Hausa blind men, and what, they didn't go to see the governor. They didn't go to see the minister, the commissioner for social welfare. They went to Adedibu's house. And what did Adedibu do? He called the new owner and said, look, my brothers and sisters live in this place. Those are the blind people. You can sell the house to me. We'll pay you. But you have to retain these people, where there is nowhere they are going to go. And the man, being a wise man, accepted Adedibu's offer, and those blind men had a roof over their head. How can that type of man now call you on election day and you are not going to answer? That has nothing to do with education. It doesn't have anything to do with degree. It has to do with his understanding of the humanity of those people at that particular time.
And understanding humanity is keen to leading humanity.
It is important. It is important. Humanity, understanding humanity, recognizing humanity, living for humanity, by whatever level you understand it, is important. It is important because it is the person, that answers to people's humanity that they also respond to.
So the delegation dobaled to Shehu Yar'Adua.
We did. I was there.
Why did you have to dobale to him?
Well, that is our culture. You want to take something of value, from me, you must show some humility. We didn't want anything that would truncate the possibilities of. Babaginda originally conceived of House of Assembly sittings to be part-time. In other words, if you are going to the House of Assembly, you are supposed to keep your job and then go to sit in the House of Assembly as part-time. That was the original concept. And I thought that, that doesn't hurt. I can go to court in the morning, a lawyer that I am, and then thereafter go to the house to sit. It was in course of development after the election that the whole idea of part-time sitting was jettisoned and it became a full-time. But really, my attraction to it was the concept of it being a part-time engagement rather than a full-time, calling.
And what informed your choice of political party?
Well, SDP, NRC were the only two political parties that existed at that time.
And these were government-established parties?
They were government-established parties. But then, there was some ideological slant, to membership that are drawn to the SDP. They tend to be more progressive in terms of their manifesto, what they canvassed, to members of the public. The NRC tended to be more conservative, in terms of what they canvassed. So, my own understanding of what the country needed was along the lines of progressive ideology.
What is progressivism in this case?
In this case, a political party that makes as a central concern the development, especially educational development of the community. Then the care of the rural community in terms of productivity and in terms of health. Those were the key concerns of SDP at that particular time. And that was why I was more attracted, to. As a matter of fact, it was an awkward choice for me coming from Ogbomoso, because traditionally, Ogbomosos tend to vote conservative. As a matter of fact, I was the only member of the House of Assembly from the Ogbomoso zone out of the 10 of us that was elected. All the others were NRC.
Can you trace that to the Akintola influence?
Well, that's a very complex phenomenon, but it is not unrelated. It's not unrelated because most of those other constituents and their leaders were of the Akintola, political tradition.
Do we still have the image of Samuel Akintola overwhelmingly present in Ogbomoso land?
That influence can never be eradicated. It will always be there. The only thing that I know is that a lot of progress, a lot of enlightenment had since come into play in terms of political choices that people make. And I do not see the dichotomy between Akintola, Awolowo making any serious impact in the future choices that people make in that political space. No. I think people are already outgrowing, all of those sentiments.
Haven't picked the SDP, Social Democratic Party, as your party. How did you now go about winning the party's ticket? Did you have to grease palms?
Well, the electorate at that time too had no choice. It's either you choose A or you choose B. All right? And the economic demand on candidates was not anything near what we have today. I was just a young lawyer. I have a very young practice. I could not have afforded the kind of money that people invest in political, contest today during that particular time. And nobody made the kind of mindless demand. My form I bought for myself. It was not any political leader that bought form, and that is true of most of us that went to the House of Assembly, whether in NRC or SDP. It was cheap, it was affordable to get your application form. Nobody among the political leaders in both parties were making demands on any one of us, to be able to contest. If you were able to convince the constituents that you are a better candidate, people voted for you.
Can you link that to the influence of the military? Because the military was still in charge.
The military was still in charge. And I do not see a nexus, seriously, between the military being in charge. It was just that at that time, the understanding of people about politics and political participation was not money-driven. It wasn't. If it was money-driven, there were people that had money than many of us that... I had members of the House of Assembly that were bachelors, people that just left university, people that just left colleges of education. If it was money, those people would never have had an opportunity. I remember very well that one of the things that I did when I was Speaker of Oyo State was to encourage many of my members to improve their education. Many of them started their degree programs as sitting members of the House. Those of them that have degrees, some of them started some other programs, MBA, LLB, masters in some arts, philosophy and so on, as sitting. That was how young and how, ordinary membership of the House, was at that time. I wouldn't credit that, to the military. It was just a question of the quality and the choices which people in the House at that particular time were making.
What were the ideals that you were going to achieve as a member of the House of Assembly? What was in your head? Why were you going there?
Well, let me just say that I consider myself particularly lucky because I got into the House of Assembly with a reasonable level of liberal education. And I understood that the only reason why I had that opportunity of contesting, winning, and providing leadership was because despite my poor parenthood, education gave me a platform. And so I encouraged at the level of the House decisions, that are based on the best interests of the society. And I must say that we were not in the pocket of the executive.
Kolapo Ishola was the governor.
Chief Kolapo Ishola was the governor. And in fairness to him, very many times he tolerated our refusal, to go the way of the executive. There have been times when we completely disagreed, with Chief Kolapo Ishola, and he never vilified us. One classical example was when the House of Assembly lost the clerk, one Mr. Folabi. Mr. Folabi died as the clerk of the House. And some people were going to meet Chief Kolapo Ishola. They wanted to be clerk of the House. But members of the House decided that clerk of the House was a staff of the House, not a staff of the executive. We chose Mr. Oyolaki to become the clerk of the House without an input of the executive. Those were monumental decisions, that the House, I don't know how many houses can take those type of decisions today without approval, from the executive arm. And that also affected very many policy programs of the Kolapo Ishola administration. There have been times when we took loan, international loan for water development as a jure, and we insisted that that money must be spent on all the water works in Oyo State and not only on the water works in Ibadan. Of course, we live in Ibadan. We want Ibadan to have the best of facility, but Ibadan is not Oyo State. There are other places, that are Oyo State that need it. If all of us are going to pay the debt, the benefit should also inure in favor of every part of. That was a house that was able to put his feet down.
And the governor did not resist that?
The governor did not. There were always arguments, but there were caucuses where we meet, we argue, and the governor never vilified any one of us.
Kolapo Ishola was SDP.
It was SDP.
And the leadership of the House was SDP.
It was SDP.
Yet you could stamp your feet on the ground.
Absolutely. And he tolerated us.
Did you go to the House with the ambition to be the Speaker?
Well, like I said, the attraction that I had to the House of Assembly was that it was going to be part-time. So the whole idea of becoming Speaker was not part of my reckoning at all. In any event, I could not say how many people will be in the House, what political parties they will belong to. It was something which I could not have envisaged. But it turned out that only myself and my brother and friend, Chief Adeniyi Akintola, presently a senior advocate of Nigeria too, were the only lawyers in the House. And the party decided that I should be Speaker and he should be Deputy Speaker. That was how it happened. It was in consideration of the fact that we are the only two lawyers. And the thinking was that lawyers will run the House better. That was what informed our choice.
And both of you are now senior advocates of Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Did the House of Assembly throw you guys up?
No. Niyi Akintola has always been a very brilliant lawyer. He became senior advocate of Nigeria before me. But hard work, industry on the part of, it doesn't have anything to do with the parameters for becoming a SAN does not have anything to do with the House. It is that you meet the requirement of becoming senior advocate, and if God grants you speed, then you become senior advocate.
But certainly that position made Akin Onigbinde more influential.
How is that?
You became more politically influential.
Well, I don't see it as influence. There are two different platforms. Two different platforms. After House of Assembly, you go to your chambers and do your work. And if you set, a standard for yourself, a goal for yourself, you work towards it and you achieve it. That's the way I look at it.
Here we go!
State Affairs with Edmund Obilo is live. Stay tuned.